Alrighty, welcome to episode 180 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. Tesla has dramatically slashed the prices of its rear-wheel drive Model 3 and Model Y by $4,000 and $5,000 respectively. This pegs the drive-away price of the rear-wheel drive Model Y to just over $59,000 and the Model 3 to just under $58,000, both including the $3,500 WAEV rebate. Western Australia's WAEV network has incrementally progressed, with Synergy's troubled Ravensthorpe site now having its 22 kilowatt Type 2 AC outlet now commissioned and open to all EVs to use. The 150 kilowatt Kempower fast DC charger is anticipated to be operational by the end of June. Tesla Australia has officially confirmed its intention to bring the Cybertruck to Perth as part of its Australian tour, although at this stage it's unknown precisely when it will arrive. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was, and welcome everyone to episode 180. As is customary, and usually just to elicit a pregnant applause, if there is anyone who is new and would like to introduce themselves or is comfortable in doing so, please unmute and say hello. Or perhaps we'll do that later. It's all good. Yes, I wouldn't have thought we're like halfway around the circle at 180 episodes. I guess if we do another 180, we would have come full circle and probably do it again. Alrighty, has anyone got any questions or comments? Actually, before we do that, I just want to run Tesla's latest video that has been posted out on X. And there's actually a couple of nice juicy Easter eggs in it as well. So let's just go to that now.
The goal is to give people hope that there is a path to a fully sustainable global economy, that we are on that path, that we are accelerating that path, and that so long as we don't get complacent about it, it will happen.
This was really the beginning of the end of the Tesla bubble. I actually think the company could go bust.
Tesla's Model Y is the world's best-selling car, beating out Toyota's RAV4 and its Corolla models.
Regarding FSD version 12, it's profound. The rate of improvement is rapid. It might be the biggest asset value appreciation in history when you can do unsupervised full self-driving.
I mean, that just sounds like a story stock. Autonomous taxi. I mean, can you really balance your checkbook with, sort of pie in the sky predictions like that?
If you ask the wrong question, the right answer is impossible.
My prediction is that a majority of Tesla's long-term value will be Optimus. And that prediction I'm very confident of.
It's very rare a product comes along that is seemingly impossible, that experts said would never be made. And this is one of those times. Finally, the future will look like the future. People say, why'd you make it bulletproof? I'm like, why not?
Energy storage deployments, the Megapack in particular, reached an all-time high in Q1, leading to record profitability for the energy business.
This is the machine that builds the machine, and the factory is the product. And this building is the most advanced car factory that Earth has ever seen.
If you value Tesla as an auto company, it's just the wrong framework. If somebody doesn't believe Tesla's going to solve autonomy, I think they should not be an investor in the company. But we will. And we are.
Indeed, so if you have Tesla shares and you can vote, please vote. Do your very best to. And if you've got your shares wrapped up in a brokerage that doesn't allow voting, ask them anyway, because some of them seem to be changing their minds. And if it's not too difficult, you can also just transfer shares into another brokerage that will allow you to vote. Now, I know personally, well, not personally, but I know that, for example, CommSec does allow voting. I know NabTrade does not. Pete, you're a past share trader or stockbroker or whatever. Do you know of any other brokerages in Australia that do allow you to vote?
I thought Stake did, and I thought there might have been another one or two, but I can't think of them at the top of my mind.
I think Stake does. I think Stake does, because I've got them through Stake, and they sent me an email asking me to vote.
Excellent.
Very good. Okay, so yeah, obviously there's some options for, especially if you've got, you know, a modest holding. It's pretty easy to flip and flop them around, and it doesn't take very long. Now, I did mention there were a couple of Easter eggs, and they were basically surrounding the robo taxi.
Yeah, we saw that twice. I saw.
Yeah, and these are a couple of the screenshots. So if you recall, last week, I think it was, we had an image of a Model 3 with some interestingly placed cameras.
Yeah.
And you can actually see that slots in perfectly for a camera just about here. So it's kind of perfect. And then you've also got, you actually can see a model of the interior seats, and that's actually a 3D computer model that that is on the upper image. And yeah, that's sort of pretty exciting. It's obviously going to be a two-seat, two-door.
That's Franz in the top picture, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Franz van Holtzhausen. Yep. And obviously another design, or possibly a designer or engineer, having a look. So yeah, so it's getting all pretty real. Clearly that's going to be fairly close to the shape, and you can obviously see there is no steering wheel. But that's not to say that there won't be a version that may have a steering wheel for those of us that want to drive around. And of course, the unveil of the robo-taxi as described in the Q1 earnings call, oh no, maybe it wasn't, might have been after that, is the 8th of August this year. So that
was just before, I think.
Maybe just before. So it's just a couple of months away, which is going to be very interesting. Oh, and yeah, just to reiterate a couple of things in the news. Obviously, Ravensthorpe, and we know how troubled that site has been. It's been more than 180 days since Synergy fully installed the Kempower and the PayMate and ChargeMate. But at least we've got step one, which is people will no longer need to get stranded at Ravensthorpe if for whatever reason you misplanned your trip. You can use a Type 2 now, and like I said, it's anticipated that the Kempower will be operational by the end of June. So that's good to finally see. By the way, one of the delays is because Ravensthorpe is at the very end of the Swiss. In fact, the Southwest Interconnected System, in fact, it draws its power from the Katanning substation, which is hundreds of kilometres away. If, for whatever reason, that goes down, Ravensthorpe then has to run on diesel generators. And for that reason, the Kempower will then be automatically switched off during a major outage. So there's just a few technical things that need to be finalised and tested to make sure that happens. And then the Kempower can, like I said, be made available to everyone. But at least you've got the AC backup right now as an option. And the other thing, the great news is Tesla Australia has officially declared that the Cybertruck will be coming to Perth. The big thing is we just don't know when, and I don't really even think they probably precisely know when either, because obviously there's a lot of places it's probably going to visit. It's probably going to be obviously Melbourne, Brisbane, possibly Canberra, and probably Adelaide before coming to Perth. So, Pete, you don't have to hop on a plane
So
and
the lot of
visit it.
CO2. I was going to offset my flight. I've offset every single one of my flights for like the last 10 years, but still better not to create the CO2 in the first place. And yeah, better to have a lighter or a heavier wallet, should I say.
Yes, and I imagine, the Cybertruck has historically stayed at least a couple of weeks in the different showrooms, and it's going to look so awesome in the new O'Connor showroom in Carrington Street in O'Connor. And I think that's almost a dead set cert. In fact, I'm going to claim it. It's going to be at the O'Connor showroom, and that's just going to be magnificent. So there you go. Oh, and since I see Michelle is actually in the room, big thanks to you, Michelle, for sussing out the Walpole WEV network charger, which was shown as being offline, and no one really knew what was going on. Thankfully, as Michelle kindly reported, it was basically fully operational, just on free vend. So I guess it's sort of demonstrating that the WEV network is performing as it should, that if for whatever reason there's a communications error and it doesn't appear on the ChargeFox app, you can always, providing there's power and it's functioning, you can always use that location on free vend, which is an awesome thing. So thanks, Michelle, for going out of your way to suss it out. That was awesome.
To get some free charge.
Yes, that's right. I presume it's your favourite location right now.
No, because it was like I only used the power that it took me to drive to Walpole.
Well,
but that was okay.
Feel free. I'm sure Synergy is only too happy to for you to fill up for free as long as you can. Actually, I haven't even seen on ChargeFox to see if it's come back online. Might just do that quick status check now, but it might not be. No, it's still offline.
Well, that's
so, yeah,
handy because I'm heading off tomorrow to Bustleton. So
there's a big pro tip. Anyone from Perth, if you want to get some free juice, you're going to have to drive a few hundred kilometres to get it, and you'll return home with less than you arrived. But anyway, or less than you departed. But,
do you know, we get free supercharging on both our cars, and our closest supercharger is an 8-minute drive away, and I still don't do it. Because on the midday saver,
exactly,
solar,
it's like it's
so cheap, it's not worth my time.
Yeah.
Indeed, absolutely, and you're dead right, because the other day the other day I was at the supercharger in Karrinyup, and I saw a Model 3 with some people in it sitting patiently on the free AC charger, basically earning themselves $3 an hour, and they were there for a couple of hours. So if you think that saving $3 an hour is worth that hour of your, saving $6 is worth 2 hours of your life, when you're driving a $60,000 car, anyway. But yeah, totally agree, Richard. It's just not worth it.
Interesting perspective, though. I don't know whether you remember a few months ago, I said the Shire of Quairding was putting an AC charger into our town, which we have now done. And as a promotion, we are offering people free charging for the first 12 months. Now, you might say, well, it's not worth driving to Quairding for a free charge. But then on the other hand, what we're thinking is people might say, well, we're going on a day trip. Where shall we go? Shall we go to Quairding? Shall we go to Cunderdin? Shall we go to Bruce Rock? And they might say, well, let's go to Quairding. We'll get the free charge. We'll have lunch and then go home or go somewhere else. I don't know whether you support that logic.
No, totally support it. That's awesome. And there will be people that will literally go to Quairding just to use that charger, not to get the free juice, but it's a new charger and to support the local government and the town in that endeavour. So, and to have lunch makes perfect sense. In 2 hours, you'll actually recover probably most or all of the range that you expended to get there, which is fantastic.
Brilliant. All right,
I'll
no
go
worries.
that
I'll
way.
put a photo in the chat.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Alrighty. So with all that news and stuff out of the way, has anyone got any questions or comments?
Just
I've
real
got a
quick, how
question.
I was
Go, Michelle, and then Pete, you go straight
Mich-
after. Yeah, go, Michelle.
Okay. If I'm not using my car every day anymore, right? I try really hard to. Am I better to leave it plugged in or not plugged in?
Okay, so what kind of car have you got? Is it a standard range model?
It's a 2021 Model 3 long range.
Okay, so its maximum charge
It's 80.
level is recommended as 80%.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing wrong
On a daily-
with leaving your car on a daily basis. There's really nothing wrong with leaving your car plugged in and set to 80%.
Okay.
Look, if you've got really, really long stretches, there's some technical advice that sort of says, well, if you want to be really, really good to your battery, you could sort of have it down to 60%, perhaps. But one way or the other, it doesn't really matter. You might as well, for convenience, just leave it at 80%. And yes,
That's
you
what I've
can just
been
leave
doing.
it plugged in. And then what you'll notice is if you're sort of looking at your meter, your power meter, or if you've got monitoring like solar, which monitors it, every 5 hours, 6 hours or so, depending on whether you've got Sentry mode turned on, it will just sip 1 or 2 kilowatt hours roughly, and then go back to sleep and just rinse and repeat on a sort of sporadic basis.
Yeah.
Well, fairly rhythmical actually. It's about every 6 hours. And yeah, that's perfectly fine. You can just let it do that forever. And
Yeah.
it's-
But that's what I've been doing for the last 18 months. But I just suddenly thought, should ask the question. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, if you get really deep into the weeds, I think it's Jeffrey Dahmer sort of says things like, well, you could leave it at sort of 50% or something like that to be really kind to the battery. But he's talking about absolute optimization to the nth degree, and really that's not what we do as driving cars. So
And I don't want to let it down to 50% because when I go somewhere, I generally need the 80% to get where
Yep.
I'm going.
absolutely, absolutely. Okay, Pete, you were going to say something before we're going to go to other questions.
Oh, just while we were on talking about carrying up, the free chargers now the EOs have been taken off the walls, replaced with 22 kilowatt ABB AC chargers. So yeah, two out of the 4 AC chargers were off the wall because they weren't working. But the 2 remaining ones that were working, they've been taken away, and now there's 4 ABBs there now.
And just to be clear, that would be
Just great.
2 next to the supercharger, and is that 2 next to the other DC chargers, fast DC
EV.
chargers in the other car
Yeah.
park?
The EVIE network charges, the federal government ones. Yep. So
Cool.
they're on the other side. So the superchargers are at the southwestern end, and EV would be on the other side. So it'd be on the northern end, roughly in the middle of the shopping centre.
The eastern end. Yeah, the east, towards the hills. So as you first approach, if you're coming from the hills, going up the hill, you turn first right to Karrinyup car park.
Yeah.
Because the 2 car
Yeah.
parks are actually disconnected, so they're not actually at all related whatsoever. Cool.
You can, pretty sure you can weave your way through from one car park to the other.
James Road, where the supercharger is separate to the other one.
I think the two car parks are separate, Pete. I'm pretty sure they are separate. But anyway, if you just navigate to both of the locations, I mean, most of it, well, unless you've got a lease deal or something where you've got some sort of credit for the EV ones. Actually, I think EV is a bit cheaper, is it not, Pete? The standard price than the supercharger?
It is. I think the supercharger is about 65 cents, I think, from memory. And I think EV is less than 60 cents or 60 cents. I can't even remember. I'll have a look.
Yeah, I'm just checking the supercharger now. The supercharger at Karrinyup costs 68 cents per kilowatt hour.
Oh, 68. Okay. Same as Eaton. I was at Eaton today. They were 68 cents.
Yes, and in fact, I think they're all the same. I think the Williams one is probably the same price as well. Just checking that. Oh, an unknown error has occurred because it always does when you're doing something live. The Kojonup one is 68 cents. I think they're all flat to 68. Actually, Ken, do you know what the Lancelin one is? Which you might have used recently.
Yeah,
Actually, that's
I don't pay to use it, so I don't know. But
of course you don't.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to look.
And unfortunately, my phone's flagged the apps.
68.
68. Okay, so it sounds like Tesla now. In the past, they had a little bit of differential pricing, but it seems they've decided on 68 cents as a fair market price for their product. Alrighty, have we got any questions, especially anyone who is only just recently gotten their car or even more excitedly waiting to get their car? Definitely looking for questions. Please don't feel ashamed of like you thinking, presuming a question is silly or you know, a basic question. You know, every single one of us that own Teslas were complete novices at the start of our journey. And in fact, some of us, I guess you could say pro users, still learn things that are new almost every day that we just didn't know about. So yeah, so definitely looking for anyone with some even just simple questions about their cars.
I've got a few questions, if that's all right.
Sorry, yes, Colin. Actually, I think I saw Clark. Clark, you just put your hand up just as you were about to say something, Colin. So we'll go to you, Clark, first, and then Colin.
Thank you, Harold. Sorry, excuse me. I've just received my car not so long ago, picked it up in Adelaide and drove it to Perth with my son. So I'm learning all the bits and pieces on it. One of the things that I can't seem to resolve is the cruise control. And when we change a speed limit, whether the speed limit is going up or down doesn't seem to make a difference. The car sticks on the previous speed limit. And to actually change it, I have to actually tap the lever again down, which is pretty much like turning the cruise control on, or touching the screen on the speed limit circle.
That's correct.
Am I missing something?
No, that's correct. That's exactly how it's been designed to behave. You don't tap the lever down. You just press it down and hold it down for maybe 1 or 2 seconds and let it go.
Yeah.
That will then unify it'll change the speed, and this also works in autopilot, by the way. It'll change the speed to the speed limit detected speed plus or minus any offset that you've set under your autopilot menu. So that's absolutely normal behavior. Now, if you were in autopilot, what happens frustratingly in rural areas, in rural towns, is the car will actually, once it detects a lower speed limit, will automatically lower its speed and to that new limit. And provided that you haven't actually disengaged autopilot while driving through the town, it will then also automatically increase the speed back up to the new higher limit at the other end of the town. But as soon as you enter in what the car has defined as a built-up area or a major centre, such as Perth, possibly Bunbury and some others, it does not do that in the major urban areas, which is just weird and unfortunate. But it's something that Tesla's done ever since autopilot came out.
Well,
oh, you there, Clark?
Well, that may be part of the reason for my confusion in Perth, as I have around Perth itself. So I was trying different things to try to determine if I was doing something right or wrong or different. But yeah, that makes sense because obviously I've done a lot of country driving as much as I have city driving. So thank you. That makes sense.
Yep, no worries. Okay, Colin.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm picking up my Model Y next Friday. Just picked the delivery date today. So very
So
excited.
you're pretty
about
happy.
that.
So you're going to get it cheaper than you thought.
Yeah, it's been a good month. It'd be a good month or two. I'm getting it for nearly 10 grand less than when I signed up. So it's been
So
been a good
you've
month.
already got an awesome experience before it's even started.
Yeah, I was very surprised this week when they did another 5 after the 3 grand only a couple of weeks ago. It was, yeah, interesting time, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, very excited. My question was just around, I've got a colleague who's also ordered one, and he's picking up his next Wednesday, and he's going down an absolute rabbit hole of accessories, of the bazillions of accessories that you can find online. So they've got a couple that sounded like they could be worth doing, and I was curious whether anyone had any experience with them. So
Yeah, no worries. Shoot, just
yeah,
give us a list and we'll take each one in turn.
Yeah, there were two basically grates for. One was for the intake, the air intake on front of the radiator on the front of the car at the very bottom. Apparently there's some videos and stuff online of leaves and whatever else getting onto the front of the radiator, and you can buy a little mesh, various versions that go across the front of that to keep all that material out.
Yes, and I can personally highly recommend it if you do a lot of country driving.
Okay.
Because, and I think Shane is in the house. Yep, I see his icon down there. He can also attest to it because he's done he lives in the, semi-rural, and both our radiators, his on a Model 3 and mine on a Model Y, were so profoundly blocked that basically just idling on a warm day, the aircon fan or the radiator fan was just spinning itself almost to pieces. So when I've finally pulled half the car apart and got to where the radiator was, it was just profoundly full of leaves and even other detritus.
Yeah.
So if you're doing a lot of country driving, I highly recommend it. I think the cheapest I saw was about $50 or something, and it's split in half. So there's two halves, and you basically there's double-sided tape, and you just stick it in.
Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, look, it technically does restrict the flow ever so slightly because there's a bit of a mesh and a bit more plastic. But if that thing can just catch the leaves and you just brush them off, it's an awesome thing.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
Highly recommend it.
And if you install it just after you get your car, it saves you having to clean it all in the first place.
Yeah. Yep.
It was after Harold's horrible stories about cleaning his radiator that prompted me to get it, and it was quick, easy to fix. So, good thing, I think.
Yep. The other one's a very similar thing. The air intake that goes into the cabin air that's just below the windscreen, underneath there's a similar thing. You can either get a little mesh that goes over the top of that, or the other one that my colleague found was like a rubber seal that kind of goes along the inside of the top of the bonnet. That one is designed to keep both water and leaves from getting from the windscreen and that down to that next level into that. Has anyone seen either of those two?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, I've seen it. And
hang on, Paul. Go, Shane.
Yeah, we live in Mollytown, and trees are just an issue. That I think it's called the air inlet grill cover. That's been great. It just clips in. There's two halves because that whole front, I think it's considered a wet area. So they allow water to go through into that front bit, and we were getting little bits of buds and just the smallest bits of leaves in there. So I thought, for $40, I think we paid $39.50 or something for it. It just unclip it, clean it, put it back in. So yeah.
Cool.
Where
Thanks,
are they?
Paul,
Where
two
is the
seconds.
clothing them from?
Paul Viana, you were going to say something as well, and then I'll go to the other Paul.
Yeah, because I was advised by service not to do that. To install that one for the aircon because it restricts the airflow to your aircon. It actually does restrict the flow. So it's one of those things that it's if you park under a tree all the time or something, then it might be good like Shane and then clean it out. But I've had my car for almost 5 years and I haven't had any issues. So and I haven't had one of those because I was going to install one. The service tech went, no, don't, because they've had a lot of service calls about that restricted airflow because it restricts the aircon airflow.
So Shane, the one that you got, was that just a very open mesh or was it more like a paper filter?
No, very open mesh. It just stops. It wouldn't stop little things, but it would just stop little tree buds and the little, almost like the small acorn things that we have from bouncing in there. But we haven't had any issues. But I'll take that on board, Paul, about the flow. But yeah,
I've done both.
Clip in, clip out.
I've done both, the rubber seal as well. And in a year and 20,000 kilometers, I haven't had an issue with the aircon. And they warned me as well, the same as Paul. They said, yep, it could muck up your aircon, and never had a problem. But the rubber seal is excellent. And there's also, just at the end of where the rubber seal goes, 2 little baskets you can buy. I think they're $5 each to stop extra leaves running down that channel into the underneath area. Hope that helps.
And so the other Paul was asking where to get it from. So I guess it's Testaries or Teslas.
Yeah, I think I got ours from Xcar. Xcar.com.
Yeah, it was Xcar. I bought one.
Now, before we go back to you, Colin, for some follow-up stuff, I did find the video that I took when I cleaned my radiator, and you'll see what I mean about it.
It's a good one.
Oh.
Wow.
It is blocked profoundly.
Harold, how old was that when you cleaned it?
This is going to sound funny, but the car was 9 months old. But it had done, at that time, I can't remember, 90,000 kilometers. In fact, so my car was out of warranty before it was 9 months old. And incidentally, it's actually just ticked over 100,000 Ks, which I missed, of course. And that was over almost precisely 1 year of driving, because I took a year off I took a month off in the UK. So I got the car a year ago, 1 month ago, and it's just ticked over 100,000 Ks. So again, you could say that sort of mess, in normal driving would probably take quite a few years to build up. But I mean, you could just get unlucky, and if it's autumn, you go through a whole lot of leaves that are kicked up by a car in front, or if you're sort of stuck behind a hay truck, because there's lots of bits of hay in there, you often see those things strewing around. The problem with the way that the radiator is set up, it's actually got a cowling that surrounds it, and you just got the inlet slit going to a cowling and then passes through the radiator. And because the radiator is on like probably a 30-degree angle, it's more horizontal than it is vertical. The leaves, unlike a conventional car, the leaves can't go anywhere. Once they're ingested, they will stay there. So it's just a matter of build up over time. And if that time is, in my case, a year for 100,000 Ks, or in other people's cases, 4 or 5 years, it sort of is inevitable that it's going to happen. And unfortunately, there's no way you can actually hose it out.
Yeah, Harold.
Steve.
Didn't you also have some seeds getting in the radiator fins? And that meant you had to pressure clean it. That wasn't so obvious from the video you put up.
Sorry, yes. In fact, I don't know if I can make this. No, I can't make the video bigger. Yeah, absolutely. It was like seeds and all sorts that were just embedded in the fins, and I actually did get a pressure wash. I did make sure though to keep it like about 1.5 feet away from the fins, because if you directly pressure wash, you would just bend all those fins over and wreck them. So if you do the task, by the way, you can just search it. You can just Google it, and it is a proper Tesla task. You can get Tesla to do it, but I can't remember the cost. It was several $100s, and it's obviously mostly labor. Yeah, about maybe $200-300 to get Tesla to do it. But if you're at all sort of half handy, you can just go through the procedure and do it yourself. But better still, if you're in that situation where you think you're likely to get a lot of leaves, yeah, for $50-60, just buy this stick-on mesh, and the vast majority of what I experienced will be avoided.
I've just pasted a link in the chat. Is that the one you're talking about, guys?
Sorry, I can't see the chat right this minute. Where is the chat?
Yeah, that's very similar to the one that I was talking about.
Yeah, same here. That's what I got.
Thank you.
Quite large grill.
Oh yeah.
Actually, that one is the intake one. That's the cabin intake. It's not the.
Oh, is it?
It's not the main cooling intake for the radiator.
Yeah,
Oh.
sorry, that's right. That's the cabin one. I was just at the second one I asked about. But yeah, the first one is on the front of the car. That grill, at the very front at the bottom, is the one that. I
Oh,
was
at the
talking about.
bottom. Okay.
It's the one on the front of the car at the bottom that
Oh,
I
at the
bought.
bottom. Okay.
Yep.
And I've only had to clean it once, and because you can get to it straight away without even removing it. You can just literally pick the leaves out of it or hit it with the hose.
Right. I see that
Actually,
one.
this is it here. This is different to what I got. The one I got was actually split in half, and you actually glued the two halves together. But look, this one's probably just as good. It sort of looks, yeah, it's got the fine mesh.
That's exactly the one I have.
Yeah, right, cool. I've
And
got
I
one
paid the
that's
$65.
Yeah, now it's $40. So it's on special at XCar. And like
So
I
with-
said, sorry, go on. Go,
I was
Colin.
just going to say, so with that one, I've seen two different versions. There's one like you were talking about, Harold, that it comes in two halves and you stick them on. There's another one that my colleague found the other day that's, I think it's one piece, but it's designed, it says it's removable. You can easily pull it off to clean it and then put it back on, rather than sort of semi-permanently sticking it on. I don't know if anyone's come across that version.
My one's the removable one.
Yeah,
And,
it seems a pretty good idea to be able to pull it off and then
yeah.
clean it and then put it back on.
You definitely want to be able to take it off.
Yep.
Yeah, mine.
So
mine
Darren, have
was
you got the
two
link for that?
halves and it clicked together and then clicked into it.
It's the XCar one you just showed there, Harold.
No, it's actually got that XCar one's actually got adhesive on it.
Oh, is
you
it?
can see- yeah. So you can see there, that's the double-sided. So you peel it off and you stick it.
Oh, right.
No, mine was.
Okay. Got the idea anyway. We'll track
Oh.
something down.
No. Okay, so mine is exactly the same front section, but see those clips?
Uh-huh.
That's it. I didn't have the adhesive.
Yeah, right. Okay, well,
Just clipped it in.
showing
Yeah.
adhesive clips. And I guess, look, you could absolutely give it a try and just not peel back the film for the adhesive and give it a go. See if it feels secure. But bearing in mind that it's got wind coming towards it, so if anything, there's a slight force sort of keeping it pegged to the car anyway. And if those clips are good enough, you could just give it a go and not stick it in. Stick it on, sorry.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. That's great.
No worries. Okay, Colin, so that was two products. You got another one?
Yes. There's a bunch of little ones that a few of them I've already bought already, but I guess and a totally different thing that I came across yesterday is, does anyone have any experience with the Cobra insurance product? I don't know if anyone's seen that. It's a new one they've launched. It's EV specific, and currently it's only applicable for Tesla, but they're planning to add more brands. And they said they've got an app that you link your car to, and it gets a whole bunch of data from your car, and you pay, I think, a base fee per month, and then like a per kilometer. So it sort of factors in how much you drive to how much it costs you. Like, I'll share it. I'll bring it up and share it if no one's come across it.
How much does it cost, Colin?
I haven't looked at it in detail yet, but I just found out about it like a day or two ago. Give me 2 secs. I'll just bring it up.
I don't know if I'd be happy with the insurance on what I did in my car.
Yeah, unless
that insurer fall into that boat.
Unless that insurer was Tesla themselves, which they do offer in the States, but it's not here yet.
All right, let me see if I can share this.
To be honest, I've never heard of. Did you say Cobra?
Yeah, they're pretty new, I think. How do I share? Here we go, share screen.
No, you can't share. Just
okay.
Sorry, and the reason why I've locked that out is if you share on a screen that has a higher resolution than my screen, what happens is Zoom, when it actually creates the video file, will render the high resolution screen full size, and everything else gets letterboxed to a small size and looks awful. And it's sort of impossible to fix. So unfortunately, I've had to turn off non-host screen share.
That's all right.
Because some people are using, high resolution monitors and things like that.
Sure. I've just popped a link into the chat. Somebody else has as well.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so that's it there. Cobra Insurance. Look, to be honest, we really don't have the time right now to sort of do this as we go along. It'd sort of get a bit boring, but certainly, yeah, I mean, if anyone's interested, do have a look. I'll do a bit of research. I mean, to my disappointment, insurance is getting more and more expensive, unfortunately, but I think that's universal. And look, if you've got a low use case, and many people do not use their Teslas very much, yeah, it might be a good deal. But obviously make sure that you're fully covered and there's no sort of weird exclusions or anything interesting.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking at the moment, because I've got I'm obviously picking up the car next Friday. So one of my tasks for the next week is to sort out the insurance.
I've literally just received my RAC paperwork, and it's $139 there for my Model Y per month, and it's just a rear-wheel drive.
139.
Yeah, and I have a clean driving record.
So that's $1,600. Yeah, it's not great.
It's cranked up a lot.
It has.
Yeah.
We are still vastly cheaper than the eastern states, but it seems that we're I think we're trying to meet them in the middle somewhere. It's a bit disappointing.
And that's with silver membership with the RAC, so 7.5% discount.
Yeah.
It's up there.
It's even worse if you're younger. A kid of mine had his insured. He's about 22, I think, and it was $2,400 for a standard range Highland Model 3. Not cheap. Alrighty. Any other products or accessories, Colin, that you had in mind?
Yeah, I guess the only other question was just to find out if there were any accessories that was sort of broadly recommended, or everyone uses, that I should make sure I know about.
Mud flaps are cheap.
Oh, that was one that came up with, mud flaps, and whether they were worth it over the obviously they cost you a little bit of aero, but obviously stop a lot of chips and things as well. So the question is, do many people have those?
Yeah, I do a number of stuff, and it doesn't affect your aero that much, and at least will reduce the number of rocks and shit that you get.
Yeah, it's behind the wheels anyway, so there wouldn't be much aero effect, would there?
No.
Exactly.
But all weather mats. They're all weather mats.
Yeah,
The
I've already
mats,
bought.
absolutely
I've
the
got a set of
mats.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a must.
And
paper-
the little slidey tray thing that goes in the center console.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
I've just been planning for this Tasmania trip and thinking about jacking the car if I get a flat. So of course you need the pucks for the jacking pucks, and I've been experimenting with jacks because that's a real problem. There's so little room under the car. You need a jack that's going to be somewhere around 95 mil. And yeah, I've been just trying scissor jacks, which really don't work. I've just collapsed the scissor jack. They don't work at all. So it's got to be a trolley jack, I think. Trying to find a lightweight trolley jack that you can carry for long distance without.
Well, actually, John, if you got it, I know for the modern spare wheel kit, and I also presume for the Bromac spare wheel kit, which includes it's a skinny spare plus a jack and a wheel brace, those scissor jacks are up to the task. However, what I'd recommend is if you use one of those, perhaps consider getting a small block of wood that's slightly taller than the jack, because what happened when I got a complete flat south of Alice Springs nearly at midnight on one of my laps, it was on the left hand side of the car, so I actually drove the car on the wrong side of the road and parked it mostly on the gravel shoulder, but left the two left wheels on, or the tires on the bitumen, so I could use the bitumen as the foundation to jack the car.
Yeah.
What I found was with a flat rear tire, this is on a performance Y, so it's slightly less clearance. What I found was I couldn't actually slide the scissor jack, which is very low profile, in, but I'd observed many times doing tire rotations that if you jack a Model Y, and I presume it's the same for a Model 3, if you jack it enough at one of the jack points, it will actually lift the entire side of the car so that you can actually swap wheels with just one jack.
Yeah.
So the trick that I did was basically I happened to have two jacks with me, so I just used one jack to just slightly jack up the front of the car, and that also then made the back of the car also move upwards. And I just did that, so it was enough to slide the jack in. Now, if you've only got one jack, what you could do is get a small block of wood. If you've got a rear flat, slightly jack up the front with your jack until you can fit the block of wood just near where you're going to jack the car at the back. Pull your front jack down, slide it into the back, and then you can keep going. So just a little pro tip there.
But you've got to do that. You've got to do that on the jacking points. So you're going to be putting a brace somewhere other than the jacking point.
Yes and no. If you actually look closely at the jacking point, it's actually the metal door sill, I guess, the sill area under the car. And if you actually look at that metal, in fact, there's actually a plastic cover. I think it's black, that just goes in, that plugs into that sort of whole door sill thing, so it makes it look nice. If you look closely at where that jacking point is, it's kind of like a rectangular shape with a central hole in the center. So you can just it doesn't really matter if you jack either side of that central hole.
Yeah.
It's really the hole. The hole is a guide for where to jack it, and I think also it's a production aid so that they can actually suspend the car using like a crane, where it sort of like grips the car. It goes either side and then comes back up under. So it's really more of a guide point of where to jack than the actual strictly the jacking point itself.
So you're not using the pucks.
I haven't got a set of pucks that are compatible with my Ys. So I just put the jack right where that central point is, that hole, and straddle it across.
Yeah, I'm obviously that is the jacking point, and considering you're jacking at the battery, I'm concerned not to.
No, you're not. No, so that's the point. The reason why they're quite specific with where to jack it is that is not actually touching the battery whatsoever. That's the metal. That's the frame of the car. It's not the battery pack. The battery pack is actually inboard of those jacking points,
Right.
and not actually touching those jacking points at all.
Yeah. Well, your idea of a block sounds very good. I mean, obviously,
It's just a little pro tip that I found through experience. I've never actually. A couple of months ago was the first time I've ever changed a wheel on a Model Y when the tire was flat. Every other time I've just done it to rotate the tires, and
Yeah.
obviously when it's fully pumped up, it's easy to slide the jack under. When it's fully flat, you've lost yourself, I don't know, 100 millimeters of clearance or whatever it
Yeah,
is, whatever the
indeed,
sidewall
yeah.
of the tire.
Yeah, there's a real problem there because, of course, there's not very much clearance anyway to get a jack in, and with a flat, you've got nothing really for that wheel. So, but it is very rigid, so you can, as you say, jack from some other point, and the whole side will come up.
Yeah, it's absolutely freaky when it does it. And it really does work. And I know it firsthand that one of the Tesla Rangers, that's how he does a tire rotation, is he jacks it at one point and just basically swaps the tires, which is really, really cool.
It's scary to see. He did it in my garage, and the car is sitting on its side in my garage.
Yep.
It's terrifying. Just on the spare tire, Harold, the bone mark, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yep.
Where does that sit in the what would be presumed to be the wheel well at the back?
No, it doesn't
Oh.
fit.
Oh.
So there's lots of ways you can carry it. You can just have it sitting on top behind your back seats.
Okay.
Depending on what sort of cargo you've got, you could take you've got that lower well, so you could take that cover, that lid out,
Yep.
and put your tire, sort of flop it, sort of mostly laying on its side, well, mostly upright, but at an angle in the footwell, sorry, in that boot well.
Yep.
Or like I said, or just stick it on top. I think I've seen people have sort of slightly modified the carpet stuff and the foam, so they sort of, I think, is it the sub? It's the one immediately next to your back seats.
Yep.
It's that very skinny, thin compartment.
Yeah.
And I think they've kind of sort of hacked into it a bit, and then they can sit their skinny spare sort of there. But really, most of the time, you're only going to carry the spare on a very long trip.
Yep.
You know, me personally, I mean, obviously, every time I've gone around Australia, I've had a spare and never used it until the last trip, and really needed to use it. But any short trip, if I go to Albany or Denmark, I don't bother with a spare. I mean, yes, it will be inconvenient if I get a catastrophic flat, but they're pretty rare. You know, the most common thing you're going to get is a tech screw giving you a slow leak. And there are a multitude of service stations. And the other thing too I carry around is one of those tire repair kits, which puts in that unvulcanized rubber slug. And I've found them to be excellent for anything that's not a catastrophic flat.
So not the can of foam that inflates inside the tire.
No.
No.
So just you get it from Super Cheap Auto. It's just I think it's got a yellow case, or is it blue? No, it might be yellow. Can't remember. Sorry, orange or something, or lime color. Yeah.
The green slime.
Oh no, not the green slime. Yeah. So.
Well, the slime make a repair kit.
Oh, sorry, as a brand name. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. So, and you know, they are very much, they do emphasize that it's a temporary repair. I had one on my previous Model X that temporarily stayed in that tire for a subsequent 35,000 kilometers before the tire itself had worn down, and I just replaced it. So they are excellent. And often, if you're lucky, or if you sort of drive your car in the correct position, you can actually do it you can repair it without taking the wheel off.
Okay.
Albeit you might have to lay on the ground to do it.
And the spare wheel, do you say is a Beaumark?
Yes, I'll just as a club, we have resolved to purchase 10 spare wheel kits. It'll be 6 Model Ys and 4 Model 3s, basically because of the projected Model 3 Model Y sales difference. It's Braumach, and
I
when you
just
go to the
posted a link in the chat.
Yep. Oh, thanks, Ken. And you just basically select your make. So you just go, whoops, not Tata.
Or if you just go straight to the Tesla menu at the top, Harold.
Yes, sorry, of course. Us Tesla owners want immediate results. And you got spare wheel kits, and you've only got 2 choices. You've got Model 3 or Model Y. And they are on special for $6.95.
Yep. Oh, that drop down menu, Ken, just brought up another good thing for, is it Colin, the new person? Screen protector. Screen protector for the 15-inch.
Oh, yes. How many people use screen protectors? Oh, quite a few of you. Wow. How do you go if your screen is responsive?
I find that
it's really good,
nice and responsive. But the thing I find like about it is I got the matte finish one, and it's not as glary when the sun gets it. If you're driving in the morning or the evening,
I've got one of those as well. Yeah, they're really good.
My daughter's brand new Suzuki missed out on getting a screen protector, and then she's got a nice screen, a gouge straight down the middle of the screen now. Yeah. Hello.
That's because you got to wear your engagement rings on the outside, not the inside of your hand as you're rubbing it.
I bet you people all have phone covers as well. You know, it's like just, you know.
Yes.
I don't.
It's the first thing I do when I buy a new phone.
Just, you know, just don't drop it. Anyway.
Just don't drop it.
And don't you have paint protection or vinyl on yours or something?
No.
Oh. I love my paint protection.
Oh, you mean like your PPF?
Yeah. I only went the ceramic. I couldn't afford the PPF.
No, to be fair, I do have ceramic coat, but
I thought you did. Yes.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So, Colin, do you have any other accessories or anything you want to ask a question about?
No, I appreciate you giving me this much time. The one other one that I saw that was interesting was the test fridge. Does anyone have one? I was curious. I saw somebody posted in the Facebook group that it runs off the 12-volt battery, and there was a bit of a concern as to whether if you had it running all the time, it would run that down.
No, because the car would turn it off. If the car gets down to 20%, it will turn off all those accessories anyway. So that's certainly not a concern. I haven't got one. I must admit it's enticing because it does fit flush with the lid of the sub boot, or the sub boot. My only personal concern is is there sufficient air circulation so that the warm air can escape properly. I personally have just got one of those Waco. I don't even know what size it is. It's a Dometic CFX. Anyway, it's a.
What's the number after that?
No, there's no number actually. No, it just says Waco CFX.
Okay.
But
We have
anyway,
a 35 litre. We put it in the wire. It's perfect. It just runs. We go down to Margaret River for all those essential winery tours, and it's perfect.
I think that might be the same one I've got, Shane, because it basically fits almost, and then it's almost level with the top, basically. So
yeah, that's right.
And one good thing is you can also stuff a few other things alongside it, so it doesn't gobble up the entire area. Plus, you've got plenty of circulation, air circulation.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't believe Bunnings sell the fridge. Bunnings sell the test fridge.
You're joking? Have you got it?
I put it in the link. $5.69.
Yeah, it's interesting though. I saw it's a Bunnings marketplace.
Yeah,
but it's actually Harris Technology that's providing the product.
That's just crazy.
Online only.
So yeah, I just posted the link direct to the Harris Technology listing, which is a bit cheaper if anyone's interested.
Yeah, Bunnings has become a AliExpress clone. You know, they just resell other stuff.
Crazy. That is okay. So Harris Technology is $514.
Yeah.
When I was first looking at that fridge or that style of fridge, it was about $1,000 a year ago.
Yes. Yep. Look, I highly recommend someone gives it a go. You know,
I was hoping somebody already had.
That's right. That's right. Somebody give it a go. Fill it full of beers, and we'll all come round and test it.
There's another fridge that
Sounds
sits
like
in the
Colin.
side.
Sounds like Colin's the man. He's going to try it.
There's another fridge that
Just
sits
put
in
some
the
cider
side
in there for
pocket.
me.
Sorry, what was that last thing about the other fridge? Sorry, who said that?
There's another fridge that sits in the side pocket on the left-hand side, and it keeps the cans. I think it's about the same volume as well. Keeps the cans low and high. So you know how that there's a side pocket that goes lower under the footwell, under the floor, if you would, in the boot pocket at the left on the left-hand side.
Oh yes, yes, very small. Yes, yep.
So the fridge actually goes all the way down to the bottom and fills that whole area.
Have you got a link, Darren?
I'll dig it up.
Yeah, cool.
You reckon it's about the same volume?
Yeah, well, in capacity of cans and drinks and things.
Interesting. I'd be skeptical. I'd be skeptical.
Nah.
But look, to be honest, yeah, look, actually that's not a bad price. 500. I think my Waco costs more than that. I'm pretty sure. And I think
My
I've got
Brass Monkey costs less.
I was just about to say that the Brass Monkeys aren't actually too bad, and they are really good value. And they're a compressor fridge, so they'll just work better in the hotter weather.
And Shane, does it work on 240 volts as well?
Yes. Yeah.
So is this the one the link that we've got here, the BOOC? Is that
yes? Yep.
Okay.
Oh, incidentally, does that also have dual power source? So does that run off 240 volts as well if you take it out?
Yeah, the BOOC does. Yeah.
Oh, great. Cool. There you go, Colin. If you want to do some road tripping or whatever, you'll be all set.
Thanks very much.
The other accessory Colin I'd rave about is the sexy knob. It sounds wrong. I'm sorry. I love it.
Sexy button sounds much better.
I didn't build it.
Has the sexy knob come out yet, or is it still?
I've had it in the car for quite a few months now. I showed Peter the other day, and I'm loving it.
So, Pete, what did you think of Darren's sexy knob?
God, you couldn't resist, Harold, could you?
I couldn't even attempt to do it with a straight face either.
No.
I loved it, Harold.
There's a very good reason they called it that. You know, they know the marketing works for itself.
You know, the weirdest things, doing the kids' school pickup, for example, I can open the door just by hitting the button on the knob. So not just the boot, the side doors.
Okay. Yeah, right. That's cool. Now, one great. How much does it cost, Darren?
I was one of the first, so I got a bit of a discount, but it was about $500 thereabouts.
Okay, so it's not just that you can do things like that. You can configure it to do different controls. If you're interested in the tech of your car, one great thing is it also acts as you basically have to plug in a dongle into your CAN bus, and that's one question. I presume they now have a kit for Highland Model 3s, because I think that's a different.
No, they don't. It's not out yet.
Oh, great. Thanks, Ken. So if you've got a Highland, don't buy it until the kit comes out to plug into your CAN bus. But if you've got a Model Y or an older 3, one thing you get kind of for free is you get to basically, you can then use apps like Scan My Tesla, and it can then use the sexy button commander, they call it, which goes into your CAN bus. as a means of extracting detailed data out of your car. And it'll do interesting things like it will show your battery pack temperature. Actually, the Sexy Buttons app does that too. But you can see things like cell voltages, capacities, all sorts of stuff, interesting stuff.
And the Sexy knob comes with the Commander now.
Yes, I would have to, because you need at least one Commander. We need the Commander to do anything with whether it's a Sexy Button or a knob in any case.
Yeah, and you could just buy the Commander by itself and use the app to do many of the same things. But yeah, and the cool thing is the Commander can intercept other cans, so you can reprogram double taps on other buttons and things to the Commander will intercept those and do tasks for you, which is kind of nice. But yes, they but just to clarify, last time I communicated with them, they're expecting the Highland version of the Commander to be out in August.
I presume that's basically just a different adapter.
It's got a different CAN interface. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And the Cybertruck version?
Stop it, Steve.
Probably in time for your Cybertruck to be delivered, they'll have it ready.
Hands up, who's going to see the Cybertruck in O'Connor?
Please let me know when it's there. Even if it's midnight, I will be there.
Special Tokwa viewing. Hey.
Yes, please.
Look, stranger things have happened. We did, by the good grace of Tesla, get a Tokyo exclusive preview of the Highland in the showroom. It was basically the evening before, I guess you could say, the formal unveiling. So, look, it's possible, and we will certainly ask very nicely if that's at all doable. I think it literally depends on when the Cybertruck comes in. So who knows?
I don't think I've got any chance of getting it to Albany, do I?
No. And look, I've got to admit that yours truly actually offered at his own expense to drive the Cybertruck across the Nullarbor and anywhere else for that matter. But sadly, Tesla, I don't think they're likely to accept that. What I think is a generous offer.
It would be a bit of a pain, to be honest, because it's got a NACS charging connector.
So you have to do a Franken adapter, which is a CCS1 to NACS, which exists.
Yeah.
Although you'd have to get one that's a Cybertruck. You have to get a Cybertruck one, which is slightly longer, because Kyle from Out of Spec Reviews had to initially pull apart part of the charge door and all that sort of stuff. But then he ended up doing a more Franken thing, which was there's like an extension thing, which has got something to do with a quick release or some weird thingo they've got. So he basically put that in series with the CCS to NACS. But anyway, if we presume Tesla's going to make a proper CCS to NACS for Cybertruck, then all you need is a CCS2 to a CCS1 adapter, and that already exists.
Yeah.
It's not pretty, but it would work. And you could also, this isn't pretty either, but if you want to do AC charging, well, AC is easy. If it's 10 amps, you could get a Type 2 male and a NACS female, and that would work.
Yeah, AC charging would be fine. It's just only single phase. So in Australia, you're likely to only be able to do 7 kilowatts, unless you can find a source that will give you 63 amps.
Oh, sorry, you're right too. It would only be 7 kilowatts exactly, because it's single phase only. Yeah.
So anyway,
it'll be worth it. I'd still do it because I bring my little blue box, which can pump out 22 kilowatts of DC. And I just go and buy you've got the CCS to NACS adapter anyway, so there you go. Yeah. Anyway, it's not going to happen. Not in this universe. So anyway, one day, hopefully before another 180 episodes have elapsed, we can laugh at the fact that we waited so long and it didn't matter because we've got our Cybertrucks and that all is forgiven. Who knows? Alrighty. So has anyone else got any questions or comments? And like I said, please feel free to ask even trivial ones because they're just as important.
I was listening to 6PR, or as my family say, old man radio the other day, and they had someone from the Pedestrian Association of Australia, and they were talking about like e-scooters and things like that, which, you know, we all know the issues with them. But they're also mentioning that they want to mandate that EVs have a external sound when they travel under, I think, 40 kilometers. So I'm just thinking, I can see their point, especially in the inner city where my wife takes this 3 days a week. But at the same time, do you know if there's going to be a mandate to retrofit these cars, or what's the go?
No. So as is customary, whenever a design rule changes, and it will become an ADR, an Australian Design Rule mandate, all the old cars are grandfathered into being as they are. So for example, if you have an old HR or whatever Holden that doesn't even have seatbelts, you can today drive it around without seatbelts, because the rules only apply to the car as to the rules that applied when it was built or registered, I guess. So no, there won't be any modification or retrofitting of existing EVs.
Okay, all right. Because is there a thing called a boom box you can get for the Tesla?
Yes.
Does anyone have one of those?
You can buy it through the Tesla store, I'm pretty sure. It's a installable item.
Okay.
A bit like the garage opener.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, there's that. That's what I'd like. And to be able to rickroll my daughters on Sentry mode or something when they walk past.
I asked the technician who had my car on its side changing the tyres about the boombox, and he said it's about $199.
Wow.
To just do it aftermarket, and Pete's right. They just order in through the service, and they can do it in your driveway.
Oh wow, that's right.
And the other, what was the other thing I was going to say? The garage door opener. I was at Tesla this week and asked them, is it ever coming back? And they said, yeah, we're sure it is. We just don't know when.
Right.
Very good.
But yeah, Shane, with the sounding for cars and stuff like that, I think the only problem is like these earbud things.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, like people walk around, and the irony is that's been one of my soapbox things. And I was listening to a podcast going around the block at work, and I almost got cleaned up by a petrol car because I wasn't listening. I was listening to the podcast, and
right.
I'm looking left and right and that sort of stuff. And there was a blind corner, and they came screaming around, and I went, "Oh well!" Almost died by the thing I was my soapbox thing about. I thought that's funny.
Fair enough. I just love to have my car make the Jetson sound when we're driving around with my daughters in it.
Exactly, I'd love that if you could turn off the whirring noise or something when it goes. If you could have a silent mode for that, and then still have the boombox, I'd have that in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
because I'd like the screaming goats or something like that.
That'd be awesome. It'd be a good upgrade.
Yeah. So I posted a link to the Infrastructure Australia page, but basically the legislation as it exists now mandates cars manufactured after 1 November 2025. So it isn't retrospective.
Yeah.
Right. So we need to get the Juniper wires out before then.
Soon.
Well, mind you, I mean, all the Highlands, they have a reversing drone.
They do.
When you're in reverse. So,
I tried to see how fast you need to go for it to shut up, but
I think it's 20k.
It got scary, did it, Ken?
Yeah, it is around 20 k's.
Yeah,
I did a reasonably quick pass.
Oh, dearie me, that is hilarious. Don't do it at home, kids. Cool. All right.
By the way, all the current Model Ys have that reversing sound now as well to slow the Highland.
Yeah, I dare say they're slowly marinating us with it. And anyway, wouldn't it be lovely to have? Because the other thing too is I wonder if this new mandate will apply to hybrids, because a lot of hybrids at low speed use their small electric motor and even smaller battery.
It
and
does.
they are deadly quiet.
Yeah, it applies to hybrids as well.
Oh, good.
And there are actually some internal combustion engine cars which can be very quiet at low speeds. So some of them make less noise than the EVs with the boombox turned on. So yeah, it should apply to all cars if you ask me.
Yep. Yeah, it should do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Or just don't have noise, because, like you said, Paul, you know, you got your earbuds in and you're listening to Akadaka, and you're not hearing anything. The only thing you'll hear is a Harley without an exhaust manifold. I mean, muffler.
As far as I'm aware, the Norwegians get away with it without any problem whatsoever.
Yep.
Yep.
Indeed. Indeed. All right, actually, I might, since Shane is in the room, I might just show a couple of little show and tells, because as we know, Shane and Sarah were the first Australians to do a lap, to do the impossible, as declared by Scott Morrison, and that was tow a caravan around Australia. So I'll just share my screen. Shane's already seen this. This is just a Jayco, I think it's a Penguin, and it has a 22 kilowatt DC charger, which fits just perfectly in the in that little compartment, and 30 kilowatt hours of GoBell batteries, and a reverse cycle aircon to boot. So in a few months, that'll be ready for a little lap. And it says a bit of a technology demonstrator to show that you can jam 3-phase power into your caravan and use it off grid. So anyway,
that's the magic blue box you were talking about.
Yes. So the blue box is this one. It's a CTEC. It's actually a 30 kilowatt charger, but it's only limited to 59 amps DC, which on a 400 volt pack is about 24 kilowatts. So
wow.
You'll also notice that I've dutifully removed the gas cylinder, because I don't want 9 kilograms of highly explosive, flammable, well, it's actually a liquid, isn't it? Compressed liquid or compressed gas anywhere near my car or my caravan. I just much rather have electrons. But
I've removed the gas bottles from mine as well.
Very good, Steve. Yeah. So I'll be going all electric. So I've got to
enough done.
Yeah, well, I've got to remove the gas hot plates and grill. It's a small oven. Remove that and probably stick like I don't know, one of those little well, whatever, microwave oven, probably the most useful, and electric fry pan. And
yeah, that's what we went. We went with the microwave and an electric hot plate, electric fry pan.
Yeah, I've used one of those little portable induction single burner ones. They're pretty cheap and they work great.
Yeah, I use the portable induction, like you said, Ken, and the microwave.
Yep, and I'm kind of regretting that the caravan comes with one of those absorption fridges, which has got a mixture of hydrogen and methane,
ammonia.
Ammonia, yes, ammonia and hydrogen. Because they're fiddly, they're not very effective. So I might end up just getting a bar fridge and sticking that in there and running that on nothing but electricity as well.
And it draws 8 amps constantly, your absorption, so it sucks the juice, which is why I had to get rid of that one, took it out, and I've got a compressor one instead, which is also 50% greater capacity in the same space, which is cool for me.
Yeah,
difference is you get a bit of noise, just a little bit of noise.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did as well. So if anyone would like to purchase an old 3-way fridge, I've got one in my carport.
And it
I'd
was,
like to
when
get
was
rid
it
of it.
born,
Thank you.
Shane? Was it born in 1987?
Something like that, yeah. It still works. It still works fine, but like I say, they're not terribly efficient. The amount of space you're left with inside is not real great. Yeah.
I'll throw it a gas cooker as well. You can have for free.
Actually, I've got one of those too. Yes.
Dearie me. But anyway, so there is a bit of progress happening on the caravan. So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward and taking it for a long spin. But yes, anyway.
I've got an update if anyone's interested. A little while ago, maybe what was it, 4, 5, 6 months ago, I had a whistle on my car. I don't know if you remember. My car sounded like an old I don't know, Gemini or something. After I'd had my windscreen replaced, and I couldn't work out where the whistle was coming from. Well, having driven all the way around Australia with it whistling the whole entire time, I've worked out where it was the other day. The front edge of the windscreen, there's like a little bit of plastic that sort of sits there, and then there's a rubber seal, and then there's the windscreen itself. That little rubber seal, when they reinstalled the windscreen, that bit of plastic was sitting in the middle of it, was sitting underneath the rubber instead of on top of the rubber, and it just made a perfect little whistle there. But I can't remember who it was who suggested run around and put sticky tape on to work out where it was coming from. I'd sticky taped most of the car, and then the other day I saw that and I went, oh, maybe that's it. Sticky taped it, and away we went. So
very good. Now, speaking of something else that's not aligned perfectly, it is known there is a known issue with, I'm pretty sure it's Model Y, the older ones, so say a year old or so, that the front side windows, so your driver's side and your passenger side front windows, may be misaligned. So when you close your door, and it's sometimes difficult to notice, just make sure that when you gently sort of close it, that the glass, the window makes initial contact with the rubber seal and not your back window, the back glass. Just make sure, because my wife's car, both the front windows were misaligned and they were binding with the back bits of glass. Oh, sorry, not the back bit of glass. It's the glass where your B pillar is. That has your camera, your B pillar camera on it. And the service tech went out at her workplace, fixed it, and actually replaced. There are two clips that clip in the window into the motorized, whatever you call it, up down thing, and apparently the front ones, they're not strong enough, and Tesla had a whole run of them over summer. It was almost like a summer thing where if it gets hot, it'll weaken or something, and the glass slips. So just do check if you've got a Model Y that your front glass is not going glass on glass, and if it is, just log it as a service request and they'll come out and fix it, and they'll actually fix it permanently. Whereas I think, Pete, you described that one of your renters had fixed it for you, but they only fixed the symptom, not the cause.
Yep. And the other window's popped out now as well. So yep. Is it a warranty thing? Presumably,
yes. Yeah. Frustratingly, my car, which is out of warranty, even though it's barely a year old, I would have loved for it to have had the same situation and then challenge Tesla to say, come on guys, it's a known fault. But strangely, even though my and my wife's car were built, their VINs are within 100 or so of each other. They were built on the same day, basically. Mine was perfectly okay. Alrighty, we've got basically about half an hour to go in the show. So have we got any other questions? Or
There was another question in the chat.
Yes, Perko. So what was the question? If you can say it, or
It was from Elia. Sorry, I can't say the name. Up a bit.
Yep. So car seat recommendations.
Oh, yes. Okay, so recommendation. Car seat. Okay, so has anyone got little kids? Mine are all grown up. I think the 3s and the Ys have ISOFIX, so you can certainly plug in an ISOFIX car seat. And really, I don't know that you need to think about a specific car seat for the Tesla. You know,
I can talk to this one pretty well. So I've got a 3-year-old and twin 1-year-olds. So I heavily researched before we committed to a Model Y. You do need to be quite careful with which combinations of seats you go with. I ended up buying a couple of InfoSecure. They're known for being narrow car seats. So I would suggest, it depends. The trouble is every combination of car seat and is a little bit different, you know, depending on whether they're forward facing, rear facing, and it's exactly how they interact, because the wider bit of one seat might be in a slightly different position to the wider bit of another brand. The best thing to do if you've already got a couple of seats or you're thinking about getting another one is go to somewhere like Baby Bunting. They'll let you take all the display models, as many as you want, out to the car park and put them in your car. So that's what we did. We already had one seat and we went and got 2 more off the display, put them all in and checked if we could close the doors and how they all fit and that sort of thing. But the only issue we came across, so my mum has a Model Y and that's why I did the testing in that. Because of the slope of the side of the windows, as they go up to the top, they slope in a bit. So the width of the car gets narrower. Some brands, if they have sort of fairly high shoulders, the ones that we bought, the shoulders of the upper, depending on what height you have them, were starting to touch the window on both sides. So my advice is there's so much variation. I would definitely pay attention to narrow width ones. That's a good starting point. So InfoSecure is a brand that's the Australian brand. They're good quality seats. They're known for being narrow, and test it yourself. Don't rely on numbers or anything like that. Go to somewhere like Baby Bunting or another shop like that and get them to say, I need one of those, one of those, and one of those. I want to test it in the car and just do it, make sure it all fits yourself.
I think the good thing is, with the person asking the question, one of the kids is 7, so probably close to the cusp of not needing a car seat, depending on, I think it's actually it's not an age thing, is it? It's actually a height. I think the kid has to be above a certain height without needing a booster
and
or
weight.
anything.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
a certain weight.
But the trouble you'll find is if you get one kid that's out of a car seat, but you've still got 2 others that are in them, and you want them all to be in the back seat. It just depends on where you want to put them and how easy it is to get him in. I think I saw the ages were 8. Was it 7, 5, and 1?
5 and 1.
That means one's going to be rear facing for a couple of years. The other one's probably the 5-year-old will be forward facing already, and probably could even be in a booster. So, yeah, you just got to play with the various combinations and make sure it all fits and works. And yeah,
I think, Colin, your suggestion that Baby Bunting will let you basically try them out is a great one, because that gives you the absolute assurance that the combination will work or not.
Yeah, and it lets you play with different ones. You know, you can turn them around, change seats, and just check that all the doors close and they all work. And yeah, from my experience of playing with them a bit, there's no guarantee if you're looking at any stats or widths on the website or anything like that, because it's all about how the different seats interplay with each other. And the only other bit of advice I would give anyone is if you do need to fit 3 car seats, is because you need to put the one in the middle, you'll probably want to go for a 5-point harness in the center seat, because trying to actually access the buckle to lock and unlock the seatbelt in the center seat will be almost impossible if you've got 3 seats.
Awesome. And I can confidently state that's the first time that question has ever been asked in 180 episodes. So that's really cool. And actually, it's a hallmark of the fact that these cars are becoming more and more accessible. So you've got younger families actually buying them, which is, rather than just old farts like me and others. in the more mature end, it's great to get, you know, younger families buying these cars and having a need to put in car seats in the first place, which is fantastic.
To pull our grandchildren into the cars, Harold.
Well, I'm actually, see, I'm an in-betweenie. I've got grown-up kids, but actually, thankfully, they haven't given me grandchildren yet. It's not quite. They're a little bit young for that, I hope. Alrighty. We've got any other questions or comments?
I'll just make a quick comment. I can't tell you how much I love the new average speed zone calculator built into the new software. I've driven back and forward to Bunbury because my dad's been in hospital down there. He's old. It's just one of those things. So many times in the last week. It's such a nice thing to have.
It's automatic, Ken. So, actually, shout out to
basically, it automatically starts when you enter the average speed zone, and it shows you. I can show you a picture, but it would incriminate me that.
And I've got one that's not incriminating. It was from.
Did you want? I went down south and
it shows you the average you've been doing and how many kilometers you've got to go, and it's just so awesome.
There is one frustrating thing though, Ken. If you are in the average speed zone and you change your destination, so you do anything with your trip on your nav, it disappears.
Yes, it's linked to your current navigation. Correct. You can disengage autopilot and re-engage it, and that won't affect it. But yes, if you change your navigation while you're inside the average speed zone, it goes away. So don't do that.
Yes, I learned that the hard way.
Steve, did you post that photo of yours on Facebook or was it X?
Facebook. It was the Topper group.
Yeah, I just did a bit of a quick scan and I was just trying to find it. I know our group gets a lot of posts.
I can send you a picture, which may or may not be of my
I just sent you a picture, Harold.
Oh, okay. How did you send it? Oh no, Paul. The
texted it to you.
Yeah, if you can send it into the chat, because that's a lot easier. Because the only way I can get it from my phone to the computer is via OneDrive, and that doesn't always synchronize.
Hang on, I'll try.
Yeah, I'll just show it then.
I don't want yours, Ken. I want Steve's, because he wasn't speeding. He was towing a trailer, so his was bang on.
I wasn't speeding. There you go.
The one that I put in the chat almost certainly isn't of my car, because I would never suggest anyone should drive at those sort of speeds.
No, I wasn't speeding at all. I was down at Busselton on Saturday, so it was great. That thing's awesome.
Cool. So
but autopilot's your friend. Yes. Oh, did you want me to show you? I could bring it up. Bring my photo up.
I don't know if the photo I've uploaded is still uploading because it's probably too huge, but
here, I'll just show the screen.
Yeah, show the screen. Yeah.
There you go. So you can see speed, what speed I was doing. Oh, it's reversed, isn't it? And how many Ks to go. So it was like I was doing 108 in 110 zone and I had 21 Ks to go. It was brilliant. So good.
Yeah. So that means if you have a little break by the side of the road, your average speed will plummet, and then you can just hammer it to the next camera.
Exactly.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I think that my screenshot uploaded as well, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to incriminate you, Ken.
In the picture, I'm doing 108. It's fine. It's just that it does say that the average is 115, but you know.
I didn't even hear that. Allegedly, I'll be prefacing that with allegedly.
But it is totally awesome. It's almost as awesome as the Matrix headlights.
Yes. That
which works really, really well, but annoyingly makes you drive through dusk without your headlights on. But once it decides that it's dark enough for you to have the privilege of having them, it's just the best feature ever. The only oncoming vehicle that's had a minor complaint about it was a motorbike. It didn't pick him up very well, but vehicles you're following and vehicles coming the other way are, you know, it's almost mesmerizing watching the little matrices come on and off. around the vehicles as you pass them.
Any
The only pro
clues
tip
on
I'd-
when we might?
Go,
Any
Shane.
clues on any clues when those of us with older cars might get this update?
No, I don't know.
Shane, do you know if your car has matrix lights?
Yeah, I believe so. It does all the fancy Tesla light show thing, so I assume so.
What version of software are you on?
Oh, I don't know.
Look on your app.
My
Because
understanding, Harold, is that it should come to all 3s and Ys.
11.1. Does that sound right?
It's in Australia. It comes in version 12. So once you've got a 2024.14 release, you should get it. But I don't know if the full second wave has rolled out yet.
By yeah, currently installed 2024.8.9. Does that sound right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's older.
once you get 2024.14 dot something, you should get it. But at the moment, they only rolled it out to cars with AMD Ryzen MCUs. But there's a second wave which was starting to come. My Model S got it, but of course it doesn't have those headlights. It's got a different sort of adaptive headlight. Works a different way, but yeah, the 3s and Ys with older MCUs are in another wave that's yet to come.
very good. And it is a cracker. One little pro tip I just mentioned is it won't work effectively or early enough for trucks because it won't see the headlights of a truck. Or sorry, as we all know, if you're on hilly terrain or undulating terrain, the pro tip if you're driving at night with high beams on is just look for the yellow lights at the top of the truck, because of course the truck driver is much higher than their headlights. So you'll often see truckies sort of flashing you where you think, oh, well, that's a bit unfair because, you know, I didn't even see your lights, so how could you see mine? Of course, they're, you know, up to 2 meters higher up above ground level. So the automatic high beams doesn't detect trucks, the amber lights at the top of the truck. It waits till it sees the headlights, and in that sense, it's a little bit late.
Yeah.
But you can always just manually flick your stalk. If you've got stalks, flick it forward, and if you don't,
you could just press the light button on the steering wheel, and on the display it turns auto high beam off.
Cool. So just a pro tip to be nice to the truckies out there.
Yeah. And my experience is some motorcycles aren't detected well either. So if you want to not blind the poor old biker, turn them off.
Very good. Alrighty. Any other questions? And like I said, even if it's a simple question, please ask away, because that's what it's all about.
This is one from left field. Forgive me, please, Harold. And forgive my profanity here. I'm not going to swear. But does anyone have any, or is there a list anywhere of all of the Easter eggs that the car has? For example, if you say, my balls are cold, it increases the temperature by 1.5 degrees and turns the heating on and your seat heater.
Yes, and if you say open butthole, it will open the charge port flap.
Exactly.
There's a pretty good list on notateslaapp.com. I just posted the link.
Thank you.
They've done a solid hunt to try and find most of them.
Thank you, Ken.
So for anyone who's interested, that is not a Tesla app. Tesla-Easter-eggs.
Yeah, they've linked to all of their articles talking about all the Easter eggs. So you have to go digging, but they've got most of them in there.
That's legendary. Thanks, Ken.
Alrighty. Any other maybe right field questions or centrist questions?
Have we got any plans for another casual meetup yet?
Ooh, that's a very good question, Michelle.
I was
and-
really appreciative of all the help I got when I went to the I don't know, what do you call it? That speed day.
Track day.
Track day, that's it. And I thought, you know what, next casual meetup, I'm going to go and I'm going to pick your brains, no end.
No
As
worries.
a matter of
Everybody.
fact, there's a casual meetup due on the 2nd of June, Sunday, the 2nd of June.
Yeah.
And I'll send an email out on Monday, the 27th of May. So that's next Monday.
And of course, many of us will be at a casual meetup on the 2nd of June in Kalbarri.
I was so tempted to go. As a matter of fact, there's a casual meetup in Kalbarri. You're all welcome to come. And in fact, you actually are. That's actually the truth. So it's. Do you know what it's called, Ken? It's the Kalbarri something fair. Or
there's
something
a
like
bunch of things all happening, but it's part of the Adventure-thon, but they're also doing a Kalbarri Lights Up event. And some of us are going to be there.
Yes, indeed. So that'll be very casual. But we will have, like I said, next Monday, I will diarise to send an email out to a venue to be announced. And in fact, I'm also happy for anyone who's watching this on YouTube to put in the comments what your preferred location will be. I can't remember where our last one was, but somewhere in the city or central, I guess. Actually, it's a Sunday afternoon. Sunday lunchtime, or roughly lunch. So it could sort of be anywhere in the greater metropolitan area.
I know of a particular pub that's got the state's best steak sandwiches.
Which one's that, Shane?
They actually won an award for it. It'd be a lovely drive up in the hills.
Okay, and
not very far from my place.
Yeah, I was waiting for it.
Do you mean to say that you could possibly?
They genuinely have award-winning steak sandwiches. So, and they are really, really good. If you've ever had a steak sandwich with truffles in it, it's worth it.
La-di-da. Right, that's good for the lattes.
The last two were Hillary's and Belmont, so we could head east.
Yeah, we could go east.
And if you don't feel like driving your Tesla there, then you can ride your horse, because there's a horse rail out the back where you tie your horses up. Like, I'm not kidding. It's got truffle burgers and a horse rail.
Oh, it sounds pretty compelling. What's it called?
I'll sort you out with it later, Harold.
Okay, no worries. All right. I mean, to be honest, I won't be there because I'll be with Ken in Kalbarri that weekend.
Yeah.
That's a WA Day long weekend, I think it is.
Yeah,
well, it certainly is a long weekend.
Yeah.
So,
I've seen. Well, it's the Mundaring. No, not the Mundaring. The Mount Helena Tavern, the Mountie.
Yep.
And
Cool.
I've seen the Mustang Owners Club up there with all their Mustangs. It'd be nice to fill it up with EVs instead.
That's right.
Absolutely.
They need truffles in their steak sandwiches to make up for the joy of owning a Ford.
Alrighty, well, that's probably going to be where it is then. So, because I'm lazy and that's a good idea, and that's as good as an idea as any other, so we'll do that then. So, yes, so Michelle, unfortunately, it's miles away from you, but we will eventually, once we get a big enough population of cars in some of the regional areas, a casual meetup with locals would be awesome.
Oh,
And-
look, that doesn't bother me, but I've just bloody realised that my daughter's coming down here for the weekend. I don't know whether I can tell her she's welcome to come, but I'm not going to be here.
Depends whether you want to be a bad mother or not,
Yeah,
Michelle.
well, yeah.
Tell her to
Where-
meet you at Mount Helena,
Oh,
and you'll
she-
drive her down.
Where's Michelle located?
Walpole. Oh, Peaceful Bay.
Peaceful Bay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. That would be a nice place for a meetup. We can
Yes.
take a caravan.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yes. And maybe if there were two anyway, that's another story. I've got to hurry up and fix mine up. Cool. All right, so we're getting last maybe 10 minutes. Any last bits of comments or questions?
Got
And we
a
could always...
question.
Oh, yes. Yes, Rob.
When I got my vehicle a few months back, I just plugged it into the 10 amp in my garage. And then enterprisingly, and I was getting 8 amps on the car. That's pretty slow. Anyhow, I subsequently got a 15 amp outlet from Bunnings and mysteriously switched them over. And I was getting 12 amps. And I've just been over East for a week. And when I got back, the car had an upgrade. And now I'm getting the full 15 amps.
Yes.
Am I breaking any rules or?
No. Well, yeah. Well, let's just go to the best news first, which is, so what happens is, for anyone that, unfortunately, there's an error in it. How old is your car, Rob? When did you get it?
4 months.
Yeah.
4 months. So, unfortunately, this error is still occurring with the UMCs, the Universal Mobile Connector, the portable charger unit. It's got 2 tails. If you look closely between the mains pins, you'll see laser inscribed. It'll say 10 amps. Hopefully, it should say 10 amps on the 10 amp one and 15 on the 15. But they come pre-configured with 8 and 12 respectively. The way you get it to change over quite quickly is set your car's required battery charge to less than it currently is. So as long as you've got more than 50% in your car, you can set the slider down to anything less than what it currently is, as low as 50%. Then plug the UMC in and then just close the door, walk away for a bit. And when you come back, it might not be ready yet, but maybe a few more minutes will elapse and it will automatically reprogram the tail to have the full current. Now, I noticed that you mentioned you went to Bunnings and bought a 15 amp adapter. Now,
I think
it works for the wrong reasons. What it will be is you can go to Bunnings. You can go to Bunnings and I think it costs quite a few dozen dollars, $50, $60 or so. It has a 10 amp plug and a 15 amp socket. It's like an extension socket with a piece in between, which is a circuit breaker, and it has a 10 amp circuit breaker. So what it is intended to do is you could sort of plug your Caravan into an ordinary general purpose outlet, and it's legal because there's a 10 amp circuit breaker. But 10 amp circuit breakers don't trigger as soon as you draw 10.5 amps. You can actually draw 15 amps through them for quite a while, and depending on temperature, ambient temperature. So even though it's compliant with the AS3000 regulations, it allows you to draw 15 amps for quite a while from a 10 amp outlet, which it's not strictly designed for. So yeah, please. Well, you can use it, but be aware that it'll probably trip the circuit breaker, the 10 amp circuit breaker, if you pull 15 amps through the 15 amp tail for any length of time, particularly on a hot day.
Yeah, so far that hasn't happened, but I just figure, the safeguard is it'll trip the 10 amp circuit breaker, but yeah, it hasn't happened.
Except it doesn't. So the problem is it's a C-curve breaker like they all are. Look, you're better off if you want to do it properly, and if you want to maintain just using a 15 amp charge rate, if you're happy with that on single phase, is get an electrician just to run a 15 amp socket to your garage or whatever. And what they are compelled to do is actually run it off its own separate circuit breaker, which will be I'm not even sure if it's a 15 amp circuit breaker, to be honest. I think it might be a 20 amp. I don't know those rules exactly, but it will cost you some money to have that done, but then you'll know that it's rock solid and you've got zero chance of causing any issues.
Yeah, and if you're going to go to the expense of getting an electrician to pull cables through your house, I would say don't do that. Stick a 32 amp socket in your house, even if if you only got a single phase house, stick a 32 amp 3-phase socket and get the 32 amp 3-phase tail for the UMC, because then you'll get you can get up to seven and a bit kilowatts out of it, and your UMC just becomes that little bit more flexible.
Or if you want to be a little bit more convenient, you can just buy for $800 on Tesla's online shop a universal a mobile
high powered wall connector. Yeah.
Oh, no, they call it a
They just call it a wall
It's just
connector
a
now.
wall connector, just a wall connector.
HW.
Sorry, wall
Yeah.
connector.
Yeah.
Sorry, thanks,
Wall
Ken. Yeah,
connector.
they used to call it a high power wall connector. Now it's just a wall connector.
Yeah.
And you get an electrician to install it. It's compatible with single phase or 3-phase houses. It's the same unit. They're actually a lot sleeker now than they used to be, and they'll also charge other EVs as well, not just Tesla. So that's handy and very convenient. And what that means is your UMC, your universal mobile connector, the portable unit, is always in your car, so that if you go on a road trip, you'll know it's always in your boot or in your frunk, so you don't have to think to remember to bring it along just in case. And yes, it does cost $800 for the wall connector. But hey, I mean, your car costs $50, $60, $70, $80, $90,000, so it's very convenient.
I'd still go with a 32 amp socket and a 22 kilowatt AC charger instead. Anyway,
I beg to differ, but only for different reasons. The single phase 32 amp tail in remote areas can cause, well, actually,
sorry, the tail, yeah, 32. I would still go, if you're paying an electrician to pull cables through your house, put in a 32 amp socket. That's the first thing you do. And then if you want to put a wall connector, fine, no worries, put the wall connector, plug it into the 32 amp socket. But you're better off with, I personally think you're better off with a cones type thing, or a tail, or both. And yeah, because the cones you can take with you. You can put it in your car and you can take it wherever you like, and you've essentially got the same power outlet of what you can get from a wall connector. Anywhere there's a 32 amp socket, and there's plenty of 32 amp sockets.
Yes, there are. The only note there is for electrical safety, that might not always be the case, that can be done. For example, if you look at AS3000 in New Zealand, it's illegal to have that arrangement. They has to be hardwired for anything above X number of kilowatts. So in New Zealand, an EVSE has to actually be hardwired into a building.
So does that mean you can't use the cones in New Zealand?
I think you can't. No, it might be a fixed EVSE. So, so if it's a wall connector with a lead and a plug, you can't plug it in if it's fixed to the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Anyway, to quickly rewind on the earlier conversation from Rob's comment, just on the 8 amp, 12 amp thing, there was a issue for a while for newer Tesla vehicles that they weren't able to do that software update to the UMC tail. That's now been resolved in the current software update. So there was a period of time during late 2023 and early 2024 when the update wouldn't have happened. So that might be why after your trip over East, if you had a software update, it would have now suddenly done the update for you, where it wasn't able to do that before.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Awesome. All right, well, we're getting very close to our 2-hour limit, which, because I posted on X, although we didn't post it on X last week because the upload thing kept on crashing. So anyway, go figure. But yeah, so just any last comments or quick question before we wrap this up, if Pete is ready. But yeah, any last bits before we go?
It's because you said those nasty things about Elon. That's why X wouldn't accept it.
Does anyone know where I can buy a cheap 32 amp tail?
Yeah, the online, I think evse.com.au have them. I think maybe even Tesla's, just Alibaba, just Google it. Just go 32 amp Australian Tesla tail, and
Should be 100, 120 bucks.
Yeah. Okay. How much, Shane, did you say?
100, 120, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Although I've seen cones recently on Alibaba at like $600, $700, $800 in that range, and those will operate off both single phase, off one phase being connected, or all three being connected.
That's
Thanks for
right. Alrighty. Yeah, it probably is time to wrap up. Pete, how would you take out an awesome show like this?
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, vote your Tesla shares, and stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. And the best way to do that after you've voted your Tesla shares is to buy a Tesla, join Tokwa, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Really look forward to seeing you all on next week's episode of Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Thanks, Aaron.